Okay, let's try it again. So, trying to get Brandon from American Standards. Ah, here we go. Let's get him on and going. Wow, that was pretty quick. Oh, what's up, Jay? And American, they're in. We got to get them live. We got to get Brandon live from American Standards. It's actually all right. Let's see if we can get him going live. Yeah, it's Brandon from American Standards. They're actually a there you go, sending the invite. Yeah, the IG live is, you know, and American Standards is unable to join. Oh, geez. I think he might. Brandon, I think you're gonna have to do it straight through your phone, dude. If you can hear me. Hey, what's up, dude? Good evening. Um, it's similar to TikTok in the functionality, but as far as like getting, I mean, it only shoots it out to your followers. So in that regard, it's kind of the views are a lot lower. Um, but yeah, and I don't know what the hell there's like likes are going there, but yeah, I'm not really sure what. I just use this for the interviews because then it's really easy to extract the video for YouTube. And, this is the OG old school account that I've had for a million years. So trying to just show Instagram some love. Let's see. Oh man, Brandon. This is a bummer. It still says unable to join. Oh, hold on. I'll be man. Okay, we're back. I'm definitely gonna have to troll Brandon a little bit on this. Even old man Ron, my old school punker friend, he was able to hop on this. And come on, Brandon. Oh, well, it's okay. Just we got
All
you,
right.
dude. I was just saying, I'm like, man, I'm gonna totally have to troll Brandon a little bit. Be like, dude, even old man Ron, this 40-year-old or 50-year-old punker, he was able to get on. But
Yo,
it's
I
okay.
was trying to be fancy. I was trying to do it through my laptop. I had my headphones on, but now I'm just on the iPhone. So
Dude, that's how we do it, man. No fancy. It's like DIY punk, just low grade shit,
now I just
you
got to
know?
get a view that looks flattering here. So you're just looking up my nose this whole time.
There you go. Nice. Um, cool, dude. Hey, we already got a question. Watch any new films recently?
Have I watched any new films recently? Honestly, I used to go to the movies for just about every movie that came out. Like it didn't matter what it was. Especially we had this like art theater that plays all these really cool like indie movies and stuff. And I think I've probably been to the movie theater twice since the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I have been binging some stuff, and most recently, I think something that's going to be hit or miss for most people. I just watched. If you know who Nathan Fielder is, have you heard of him? He does this. So he did this series called Nathan for You. He just put out something new called the what is it? Not the audition. The I feel like if there's anybody watching, Corey's on. Corey actually just recommended this recently here. What the hell? The rehearsal. So I just watched the rehearsal the other day, and it is hilarious, dude. Like the premise of this basically is poking fun at reality TV, and he
Oh,
sets up
that
this
sounds like
scenario.
right up my alley.
Yeah, he sets up this scenario in which he's like the only actor in the situation, and he's having real people bring their problems to him, and he's having them rehearse all the possible outcomes when they tell somebody their problem. So it's the most deadpan, awkward comedy there can possibly be, but it's hilarious and it's so like brilliantly like executed. Like it's really stupid, but it's also so intelligent the way it's done.
Nice.
It's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a cool Nathan's reality or Nathan does reality.
His name is Nathan Fielder, and his last show was Nathan for You. His new show is called The Rehearsal. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Huh. Okay, the rehearsal. Yeah,
yeah.
well there you go, you know. We got that's one of the fun that's one thing I do like about this is a lot of times the comment section they'll throw up some pretty cool little questions. And I was just like, well, let's throw it in.
Go with it. I rather answer stuff like that as opposed to how'd you get your band name, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone knows you're like taking a leak and look down, and it said American standards, right?
The infamous story that'll live me up for like the last 10 years, you know?
Yeah, I still tell you to this day, I'll be like at a bathroom or something, and I'll go and be using the bathroom, and then I see American standards, like, man, the best marketing move ever. Because
There you
even
go.
to this
Someone in the
day, I
comments,
still
either they
look
know
down and I
about the
see that.
rehearsal or they're just knocking it down so they can go watch it. It's hilarious. Like I said, it's not for everybody. So if you're not into dry humor and really awkward moments, but if you're into it, it's great.
Nice. Yeah, dude, it's good to have you back on. Where should we start? So last time we talked, it was on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast.
That had to be
I
like what 6 years ago,
I was
5 years
yeah, I was
ago.
just gonna say I think 6, maybe 7 years ago, because it's 2016. So
Yeah.
yeah, about almost 7 or 6 years. I don't know, my math's not good. 6 years ago, but I think I don't know if we did two interviews or one, but it they were so it was if it was one, it was so good it felt like two.
It was so good we forgot them both. No, no, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we might
Or
have
they
done
just
two.
merged into one. I don't know, but it was really good, and because I remember we were talking about the band, talking about your history, and I think we touched on the healthcare
Yeah,
industry.
yeah. No, we talked a lot about that because the refreshing memory is like my mom. She got in an accident when she was really young. She was like 17, and she lost part of her arm and now like has a few fingers on a hand. And since then, she's basically been on like government health care, and because of that, like just has fucked up her entire life. I mean, she's living in a like it's called an independent living home essentially, where they help take care of her and stuff, but she's like the youngest person there, and she's still like in her late 50s at this point, you know. But she like everybody treats her like if she's a kid there because everybody there is like 80s. They're on breathing machines. They're
Oh
like,
wow,
but because every doctor she saw would prescribe her new medicine, and then she got to a point where she was on 30, 40 pills a day, and the
yeah.
doctors didn't give a shit to try to make it better. All they cared about was pushing whatever new drug was out there, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad she's still doing good, and in a weird way, for your mentality, if you're older but you're like being treated like a youngin, it almost is. I feel like that would be kind of like a refreshing, like revitalizing vibe, you know. I mean, but I'm glad she's doing good. That or
Yeah,
I
yeah, she's hanging in there. She's
good.
yeah, no, it's one of those things. It's got to be the most depressing things at times, but also like you said, maybe it makes you feel young too. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, totally. Yeah, the old folks' homes are a trip. I went and hung out with my grandma in one, and she was like, "Oh, it's time to do exercises. Let's go." So I went and did like exercise with all of them, and it was like the highlight of her month, or probably like 6 months. That I was there doing like leg curls with her and all the old people. But
Yeah, no, you got to go out of your way to make yourself feel a lot stronger than you actually are. Like you see, like one of the old ladies like trying to pick up like a grocery bag. You're like, I've got you.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
so
I was rubbing
strong.
it in those old people's face. I was like, "Get up, old lady!" I was like, "Come on, do that squat."
Every person in there wants you to help fix their VCR.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, I know. I was like, I had to do the rounds on.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, well, you have to stop the blinking button. You just
yeah.
gotta put.
You look like a
VCRs.
genius just
Oh
by
man.
unplugging and plugging it back in. It's great. Yeah.
That takes me way back. And so basically why I want to say that is your band, man. You guys have been going hard because when I interviewed you too, we also obviously talked about because it's punk rock and politics. So we also talked about your band, your music, and everything. And you guys, I think back then you were putting out an album when I first talked to you, which, like you said, 6 years ago or something. And then now, I know you're going on tour, but you said that you guys are putting out a new EP. Let's hit on that first before we kind of go down the ventures of like our fun interview idea for the day.
Yeah, no, man. Every time I feel like it's, I won't say fizzling out, but I mean the reality of it is like to be in a band for like 10 years at this level is pretty rare, you know.
Yeah,
Like obviously, like for the bands that have like broke and like they're making decent money to like make a living and everything, they might be pushing it longer. But for a band like us, it's really just DIY touring it, you know, across the
yeah,
country. It's rare that a band sticks around this long. So with the pandemic specifically, obviously, we weren't doing shows, we weren't getting together to jam, we weren't really writing new material or anything. So it kind of felt like we're on that path of saying, okay, like we've found our own things outside of the band that we can do and still be happy, you know? So
mm-hmm.
I really thought we were going down to a path where we were probably going to play another show or something like that and just call it quits, you know? Not for lack of like not still having a passion for it, but just because that's the path it seemed like it was taking. And then we got together. We had got a new drummer during the pandemic because why not just you know why not just get
Yeah.
the last drummer in Arizona that hasn't played for us, you know? Um, and we started. Corey had a couple riffs, so we started riffing, and we wrote one song, put it out as a single. It's called "The Pendulum, the Podium," and we thought like, wow, we finally figured out something that took 10 years to figure out, which was like we don't have to travel out of state to record. We don't have to spend like an obnoxious amount of money to record or go to a really well-known studio. We just need someone that actually gets our style. And with that, like right now, we're recording more affordably than we've ever recorded. We're spending more time on it because we're not on the clock. We're not traveling to a studio that has us on an hourly plan or anything. So we get to listen to the music and come back and add ideas to it and things like that. And it just felt really good. So to call it quits when we finally found something that works,
Yeah.
just didn't seem right. So we
So
started writing new stuff, and yeah.
someone wrote like, "How do you keep it fresh?" And I think she wrote Trista. She put that right in pretty much right when you said the thing about getting the new drummer. Was that kind of like a breath of fresh air type thing? You kind of almost
Yeah, it's
answered it like you psychically just harnessed that, but
Yeah, no, no,
keeping the band
that's a
fresh.
good question. I think getting new people in the band, American Standards, like Corey and I are the only original guys in this band, and Corey originally started on bass. So getting new people in the band has been a constant for us, and it
Mm-hmm.
definitely like gives that breath of fresh air that gives you like excitement again. But it also it kind of I don't want to say it gets tedious because that sounds bad, but it feels like starting back from scratch sometimes because
Right.
it's getting another guy and teaching him all the music and going to practice week after week of just playing songs that we've been playing for like 10 years, so
Yeah.
it's part of it is tedious. It does take a lot of patience, but at the same time, I mean, like our drummer now, he picked up the music very quickly. He picked up a lot more songs quicker than we thought he would. We told him learn 3 songs and we're gonna jam, and we went there and I think he knew like 10 or 12 songs already, like songs that we hadn't
Oh,
even
because
played live. So
he kind of went and listened to your backlog and
yeah, yeah,
catalog. He did his homework. A
yeah.
drummer?
So that
Wow, that's
that
a
definitely
keeper.
helped. But it does keep it fresh because yeah, it does. It's playing with someone else has a different perspective that we didn't have. Like when we're writing something, he's definitely writing drums in a way that our prior drummer might have not have wrote it, and he's bringing different ideas to the table. He plays a little bit of guitar himself. He's sang in bands
Cool.
before, so yeah, it gives that kind of fresh feel to it, and then the excitement. I mean, just the excitement of like someone that hasn't played the set 100 or more times.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. You said he played guitar or plays guitar and then he
Yeah,
sang before. I've played with drummers who are just 100% drummers, and then
yeah,
drummers who have played guitar and they're more musically inclined, and it is like night and day playing with the
yeah.
different
No,
drummers
it's
for sure.
we've always had like drummers that kind of get everything a little bit. Like we've always had drummers that get a little bit of guitar, a little bit of bass, and they, maybe have done vocals in a band. So like we've been super lucky with that. But like I said, there's maybe a half a dozen drummers in Arizona, and we've had them all twice. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so really quick, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but you said the recording. You're not going into a studio, so are you guys just doing it all DIY? Like, is someone recording it themselves? Like,
yeah, yeah. So a buddy of ours, Aaron, from a band called The Awful Mess, he has a home studio, and he's kind of doubled down. And I'm assuming maybe because of pandemic, maybe more time to do so. But he started recording a lot more bands, like they're friends of ours. So we had a lot of people that recommended, like, go do a song with Aaron, and he lives fairly close to us. He's very affordable. And I mean, I don't know what he cuts deals for somebody else. So
right?
I
Oh,
think
because
he might be kind of a
yeah,
home
yeah,
discount, but he's very affordable for us. And the most important thing is he gets the sound, and he allows me to be very nitpicky about the mixes,
yeah.
meaning
Oh,
like I'll
good.
listen to it and I'll be like, there's this little tweak, and I want you to change it so much that no one but me is going to notice. But it's
Right.
going to mean everything to me because it's going to grate on me if we don't change it, you know?
Oh yeah. No, totally. That's good. That okay, that's cool still though, because so I mean, more power to some musicians and bands who like they have a someone in the band who's recording it or whatever. But I mean, me personally, like that would be really hard because,
Yeah.
as you know, being 100% DIY band, you're doing so many things, and then to add recording your own stuff onto it, sometimes I'm just blown away with how some bands actually do that on top of that.
Yeah, no, I always say like I wish I would have picked up the skill of being able to record stuff well, like better than just pulling up GarageBand and like just turning the mic on.
Right.
But I also know if I did, I would probably be like a lot of my friends that do record, which is they're phenomenal musicians, which I am not, but I would also never release anything because I would just constantly be tweaking it and never feel like it's ready for release. So
Yeah.
having somebody else do it for us, like gives that like, all right, I can only push so much, and then we've got to release it, you know?
You're like, this is it, man. And then the other point about doing it in a studio, I mean, you're paying hourly, and then you want to, how much are you going to actually pay
Yeah,
to get it mixed? You're like, okay, like, we're broke. This is all we got. Like,
yeah.
this is it. Yeah.
Well, man, the last time we talked, I think it was when Anti Melody was coming out, and
Yes.
it
Yes.
was the most expensive recording we've ever done, the most like drive time we've ever taken because it was in California, and
Oh, wow.
so we did like weekends. So it'd be like one weekend we're doing drums, one weekend we're doing bass and guitar. A couple weekends we did vocals, a couple weekends we did mixes. So I was just driving back and forth every weekend for so long, and we changed so much because like as you know from last time we talked during that time. That's around the time my father had passed away and our initial guitarist Cody had passed away, and we're just like it was a lot of scheduling things to make that work. And now when I listen to it, I think like these songs mean more to me than anything we've ever done. But at the same time, like sonically, I know it could probably have a better recording if we didn't have that dynamic of like it being so hard just to get out there to tweak stuff when we wanted to tweak stuff and make it work, you know?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And if you need, I mean, that was probably from Arizona. If you're, I don't know where you're going, like LA or whatever. I mean, that's
Yeah, basically LA, Van Nuys
like a
area.
6 hour drive. I mean,
Yeah.
depending how fast you drive, could be a little,
Yeah,
five
you're
to
looking at
seven.
12 hours of drive time every weekend for, 4, 5, 6 weekends.
Wow. I mean, luckily, at least gas back then wasn't that crazy, but
Yeah,
still.
right. This is true.
So, oh, and Nick, he says he's super excited to see American Standards playing Tucson next
Oh
month.
yeah.
And we're going
Dude,
to talk about the
Nick is
tour.
awesome, and his kid is awesome too. So it was Nick's kid's birthday a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago or so. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. I think turning 5 or 4. But we jumped on with him. But Corey played him some Happy Birthday on guitar. We all like talked to him. We seen the
Oh,
care
dude,
package. Um,
that's
Nick caught us
amazing.
at the Bled show, which was like our return show after pandemic. So yeah, no, excited to come back to Tucson.
So yeah, 5. Yeah, dude, I love when kids bring or people or kids like they are kids, but when fans or musicians or anyone brings their kids to the shows and shares in that like experience, and it's a really good bonding experience. I mean, I couldn't even imagine if I had those memories with my parents. I think
Yeah,
that'd be
right. Going to like a metal show at 5 or something.
right.
Like the
You have the
the
big
first like
headphones
big
on.
show I remember, I was definitely like a teenager at the time, and it wasn't like a show that I wanted to go to per se.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Okay,
Someone in
so
here too.
yeah,
So Steve's yeah. So Steve is sort of original. I think Steve's been with us for like
uh,
7 years.
okay,
So
dude. Well, I mean that being in a band 7 years, that's like if you're someone living out in San Diego, they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm a local. How long? 7 years? I'm like, you're a local, bro. You've been here 7 years. You're a local. So touring. This is what I'm really excited to talk to you about because I actually just wrapped up a tour. I mean, it
I
was
saw
my
that.
first big major tour. Granted, it was just me, so it's a lot different than with you, a full band and everything. So where are you going? Let's dissect this. And we did want to talk. We're kind of talking about what topics we want to hit on, and we decided what to learn from. Like we're gonna
Why
talk
does
about
American Standard
failures
suck?
and fuck ups and all that mess up stuff. So then, if anyone out there's listening, they can learn from this. So first, where's the tour? Where are you starting and going? And then we'll kind of dissect it even more.
Yeah, so the tour starts on August 24th, I believe, and it was all booked around Crucial Fest, which is a festival that happens annually, with the exception of pandemic, in Salt Lake City. So that's on August 25th. So we locked in that date. We knew we were playing this festival. There's some really cool bands on this festival. It's actually a maybe a 4-day event. So we're kicking off on day one of the event. Um, and we wanted to book a festival around that basically. So the first show is going to be in Las Vegas on the 24th. Then we shoot up to Salt Lake City. After that, we play Denver at this place called Seventh Circle Music Collective, which is one of the coolest DIY music venues in the United States. Like,
Oh,
I think you would love the vibe. It's super DIY. It's super punk. It's basically like this collective that has like a group of warehouses in the back. I think they probably use some of those warehouses for like jam spaces.
wow.
But they've been around for almost 10 years. I mean, we've probably played there more than half a dozen times. Every show we play there is so good. Like the people are so accommodating. Like we played shows there that had like a hip hop guy and like a grindcore band and like a pop punk band and us, and people
Uh-huh.
rage the entire time through. They'll like Aaron, the owner, like he'll set us up and be like, "Hey, do you need a shower here? Do you need a place to stay?" Like
Oh,
they're just
that's
way
so
better to us than we deserve, you know.
yeah.
And it feels, like I said, it feels very punk, very DIY, but very well put together. Because like you may have noticed this too. Like we've also played so many DIY or punk spots where it's not handled very well. The show's supposed to start at 7, it starts at 10.
Uh,
Someone gets in a fight during the first band, and then like the other band doesn't get to play, and like there's definitely spots that aren't handled so well. And this spot being around for so long and so consistently having shows and just all being phenomenal shows, we're very excited to go there. And then we go down to Albuquerque in New Mexico and come back through Tucson, and it's kind of like just a big loop to play that festival.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. But it was really the festival that kind of got you guys thinking, like, dude, let's do it into a full tour.
Yeah, and not, I would like to say a full tour is like I always think it's funny like when bands are like I'm going on tour, we need to do like a tour kickoff and we need to do a return show, and then they play like 3 days, like the first day's in a city that's like an hour from them. This is really just like 5 shows, so it's nothing huge. But this is like, to be honest, this is probably what people can expect from American Standards going forward is just doing like a week or two at a time and really appreciating every single show as opposed to playing shows that like it either one feels like a job because we've been out there for so long, or two, we're playing with bands that we really don't like at venues we typically wouldn't play at or go to. You know, like any show we play, we want it to be a venue that we would go to, even if we weren't playing, and we want it to be with bands that we would go see. You know, so that's kind
Nice.
of big to us.
No, that's such a good point. I think this idea of like mini or micro tours, I think that's kind of the best way of doing it. I was talking to my old Ron, old school punker. He's based up in OC Anaheim area,
Okay. Yeah.
and yeah, we were kind of talking about like what would be a great idea for bands to do, and it's kind of like it's, you want to arrange it around your life, you know. Like me, I was already going up to Seattle, so I was like, well, instead of flying up there, I'm just gonna drive up and do a tour. You guys are already playing that
Yeah.
festival, so you're working it around it, you know. So if theoretically you were still recording your album, in LA, then you could have kind of, well, we could do a few shows out in LA and hit up San Diego, down here, and then zip
Man,
back.
I'm personally jealous of you. Like the ability to like just play solo yourself, like takes off so much stress probably because it's you don't have to worry about like, okay, can everybody one do this tour?
Oh,
Do I have
yeah.
a vehicle that's big enough for everybody? Like we got to make sure we all get there at the right time. Like just being able to go around and do that, like you could essentially just be having one long vacation playing shows in between, you know?
Yeah, it was. The only thing that I found, honestly, the only thing that was hard doing it just one person, like just me, I mean, safety wasn't really an issue. Like I was just sleeping on the side of the road. There was one time where I woke up in this weird, like just off the side of the freeway, and this car drove away. Like right when I was like,
Oh,
okay, that was a little weird.
got
Like
you.
out in the middle of Oregon or something. But safety for me wasn't really an issue. But driving was the
Yeah.
thing. Is
Okay.
because I need to
Yeah.
drive 7 hours, and I was doing all this other stuff. So with you guys, are you guys doing a bus or like a
No,
van, or how
no.
are you doing it?
Yeah, so we, for the most part, have always just rented vans. We've kind of lucked out because Steve, our bass player, his dad runs like a van rental company. So we
Okay.
always kind of got really lucky with that. For this next tour, our drummer has a van, or I think we're taking maybe a truck or a bigger truck or something like that. So we've always kind of lucked out in that regard. But in terms of like, yeah, driving through the night and stuff like that and having to trade off, I can see how being a solo person, especially me personally, like I hate driving at night.
Yeah.
Our guitarist Corey, like he says he likes it. I can't imagine liking it, but he says he likes it, and he typically like will drive the majority of the time. And hell, we did like a West Coast tour a while back where he would like just champion through every single night. We would play the show. He would drive through. We had bunks in the back of the van, so we would all fall asleep, and we would wake up the next morning in the city. And I think that's like the biggest, or the only tour that I would say that we've ever had where like we got to actually experience the cities that we were in, because typically it's you drive 8 hours, you get
Yep.
to the city like in time to get some food and do sound check, and then you pretty much only get to explore whatever's right around the venue, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that time we were like going to like the what's it called in Seattle, the big old sky point, where the thing's called
The Space Needle.
Space Needle. Yeah, yeah. We went
Hmm.
to Space Needle and did all this touristy stuff, which like never happens to bands. Like you always see your friends' bands on tour, and you're like, oh, they're probably having the time of their lives. Like the truth is, they're just sitting in the van with each other for most of the day, you know?
Yeah, like you said, you go, you'll check in to the venue, and then maybe get a bite to eat or whatever's really close. And if you're in some kind of off beaten area, you don't get to see the actual city. And
Yeah, you
then
see a
you're
lot of gas stations.
yeah, and then you leave so late, you're just like out of there.
Yeah. So
One
to summarize that, we've lucked out both because we've got a guy that's always known to get us a van without having to have the expense of owning a van, and it's always been a reliable vehicle. And then we have a guy in the van that drives like 80% of the time.
Yeah, oh
So
dude, he's like the champion, man.
yeah,
That's
right.
like, dude, that's awesome. But just being able to switch off is
Yeah,
huge because then you can keep going. Okay, so you said that you have a friend who offers at the one venue a shower. So this is another one that I learned is like showering is I think, and on a 5 day one it's not that bad, but dude,
yeah.
after a show you get sweaty,
Oh
you're
yeah.
sleeping in the
Especially for
car,
a
like,
summer tour.
huh?
Especially for a summer tour.
Oh well, yeah. Now where you are, oh yeah, the heat out in Arizona and the Southwest. So, I'll share my little what I ended up doing desperately. But what do you guys do about showering and stuff when you're out on
That's
tour?
another thing. Like, I'm gonna lose all hardcore or punk credibility here, man, because here I am talking about how prissy we are with like a working van that doesn't break down, someone that likes to drive, and we've kind of decided at this point, and this is maybe something I want to talk to you about too, is like since we're not the band that like relies on this to make a living, we're not expecting anything more than just like a place to play, you know?
Right, right. Yeah.
We've almost always decided like if we made enough money off the show, we're just gonna get a hotel. We're not going to get like four hotels for each of us. We're gonna get one room, tell them there's two people and all cram in one room.
Yeah.
But more often than not, we're getting some shitty like $69 hotel. We're
Yeah.
all cramming in there, like some dude's sleeping on the floor or sleeping in the tub, or we're all just double bunking it, on the beds, and we're fine.
Yeah,
So,
but even after that, I mean, sleeping on the floor in a hotel is like luxury compared to sleeping in the
oh
back
yeah,
and
yeah. Like I
or the
said, we're gonna lose a
mattress.
lot of
Or,
punk credibility by saying how prissy we are with our $70 hotels.
yeah,
But I think that's also like, to be real, I think that's something that's allowed us to decide that we want to keep doing this for so long, because I have been in bands where we've like, yeah, just slept in the van more nights than we haven't. And yeah, we went for a long time without showers or just eating shitty food and stuff like that.
yeah,
But with this, it's like if we're only going out there for a week or two at a time, like we can make that whole time like enjoyable, and then look forward to the next one. You know, if we were grinding so hard because we wanted to make this a living, we probably wouldn't be staying in the hotels every night because we need to save us some extra money and we need to do this and that. And I think that would put a lot more stress on the band. You know,
yeah.
so
It's a balance. It's a balance. And Steve's trying to up his punk credibility, saying he slept a lot in the van. So Steve is definitely the punk.
okay, okay,
He's the
we've got to.
hardcore one.
So
It's
the great thing about
Brandon's.
this is this gets to
It's
be
all
almost a
on Brandon.
one-sided
It's all
conversation
on Brandon.
because I've got the audio here and he has to type here. When Steve says he sleeps a lot in the van, Steve is absolutely telling the truth.
Okay.
Because the second he sits in the passenger seat, that dude falls asleep and like he transports in time to the next venue. So
Oh,
like,
there you go. There you go.
Steve will straight up
All
be
punk
like,
credibility thrown out
it'll be
the
an 8 hour drive. Steve will fall asleep before we get to the freeway, and then he'll wake up and we'll be at the venue. He's like, oh, that was quick.
You're like, yeah, no shit when you're sleeping the whole time. Okay, okay.
We got
So
some questions in here actually. We got
yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
about
Favorite gas station food. That because you're saying eating crappy food. That
yeah.
is another. Like I ate
Well,
Subway when I
so
was up. I think I need to be like Happy Gilmore and get sponsored by Subway or something because
yeah.
that was my that was or yeah. But so what's one of your
Eat
favorite
fresh,
gas station or fast food if you're on the road?
So thinking back when we first started, I feel like every tour that we did had like we might as well have been sponsored by one thing that was really dumb, but we all like committed to the bit. So originally it was always getting the bomb burrito. You know, it's bomb. So it's just like a shitty microwavable burrito. It's like a
Oh,
huge,
like
like it's the
okay,
size of
at
a
Seven
cube.
Eleven, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's horrible, but it's like everybody just commits to the bit. Everybody gets this bomb burrito every time. And it's horrible, you know. We did one where the whole bit was just getting egg salad sandwiches and yelling egg salad sandwich as loud as you can. So that was another thing that we did. Let's see here. I mean, like now when I go to a gas station, I'm looking for something that's just not going to make me feel like death afterwards.
Yeah, as we get older, it's a little, I mean, our
Yeah.
indigestion isn't as good as it was. So
So
me personally.
Corey's vegan, so he's eating like barbecue Pringles and stuff like
Oh,
that.
that's tough. That's tough.
He's living off Pringles basically. Um,
Yeah. But
but
really quick with the I was so and the hotel thing, you're funny that you said that because I was roughing it, slept in the car the whole way, and then I did get a hotel when I got up to like Portland. And it felt I was like, I don't know, this kind of feels not punk rock, but it was I slept so good. But
dude,
before I got there, I was so dirty and just cranky. I actually went to a gas station, like a trucker gas station. Let
yeah,
me know if you've ever done this. And I actually took a shower at a trucker gas station.
I haven't. How was that experience?
It actually, okay. Well, first of all, I had old family friend who recommended this to me ages ago, and they said it was like $7. Of course, inflation must have hit because it was $15. But I don't.
I thought those were free for some reason.
No, no. Well, it's only free if you bunk up with a trucker.
Okay,
And that, and that, had
$15 for a shower seems steep.
yeah.
I'm
But
just gonna buy two smart waters and pour them on me.
yeah, I guess, but it was it would they have their own towels folded out, and like the room is super clean. So I mean, there wasn't a timer that I noticed. Like, I mean, I was in there for a good amount of time. I didn't
Just
notice
milking the
like
shower.
yeah, I was looking for like some video cameras or like an alarm system, but no, I mean, like I said, I'm sure I could have bunked up with Bob the trucker or something and got
Yeah,
it
save
discounted,
yourself
but
some bucks. Yeah.
yeah, so that was, but at the time, like $15 for a shower kind of sounds like a lot, but I mean, compared to paying like 60 or something for a hotel and just the desperation.
Yeah.
But one thing I did learn from of everything on TikTok, the lead singer of or he's now the lead singer of Reagan Youth, Neil. He's also in this band
Yeah.
Downtown Brown. he was saying get a membership for 24-hour fitness.
Oh, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And
Yeah.
then you could go and use those wherever
Oh,
you
you
want.
jump in the pool too if you want to get a
Yeah, or the
swim.
sauna. Yeah, I know. I was like, dude, I think that's like a tour hack right there.
Yeah.
And you could
Yeah,
even
no,
do
that's
like a
smart.
30-day free membership or something,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
and then just
that's smart.
cancel it. So yeah, maybe on your next tour, you guys can
Yeah.
work that in, or this one. But
Yeah, no, like I said, honestly, like we're fairly comfortable. Like I said, within reason. Like I said, we're all cramming into one hotel room, but like we know that person just to chip in or throw our merch money or our guarantee in and get a hotel, but get a decent rest, like eat some decent food and feel good the next day. I'd much rather do that at this point in the band than have to grind like we used to,
yeah,
which isn't punk rock, but I mean, it feels good. We play better shows because of it, and
that
we've been able to stick around because we're not stressed out because of it.
I was gonna say you probably do play a lot better the next day, and your backs aren't gonna be hurting for a week once you get home. And so, all in all, it does work out better. And if you could do it, man, like more power to you guys.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
Um,
I am jealous of just traveling the world by yourself. That seems like a hell of a time.
yeah, it is wild, dude.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. But it and here's another thing. Like I've noticed a lot of bands. And I actually talked to Ron Placone, who he's a comedian. I talked to him last week. And so he did a lot of road shows on his own and stuff. And I was kind of talking to him about how I think a lot of bands don't tour, they don't go out, and don't even play shows in too much
Yeah.
anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of
Okay, yeah,
like
no, that's a good topic, man. Because here's the thing, and this is kind of what I'm going to say about like both touring and just being in a band in general. Is like one of the most important things up front is like you've got to set like what are your expectations from the band or what are your expectations from the tour. They've got to be fairly realistic expectations, or you're just going to get bummed out and leave. Like I think a lot of bands up front, they think like, I want to be the biggest band in the world, or if I just get on a label, if I just get on a big national show, if I just get a tour, then I'm going to blow up. And then when that doesn't happen, they get discouraged and they just break up, right?
mm,
So I think the expectation saying like having realistic expectations is huge. So from like a touring perspective, I almost feel like to the point of do you need to tour anymore? The honest answer is to build a crowd. The answer is probably no. Like if a lot of bands, if you tour and you've never played the city and you look at like your Spotify analytics or you look at like, Bandcamp analytics and like where people are located that's listening to you and no one's really listening to you in that area and you decide to play that area, chances are you're not going to be playing to a lot of people unless you have a like really solid vocal support on there.
yes.
And at that point you're touring for you, which is completely fine. Like if you're comfortable playing a bunch of shows to 10 or 20 people, which we absolutely are, we've done that for 10 years, that's fine. But you need to go into it knowing that you're doing it for you and you're not doing it to necessarily build the crowd. Unless you, once again, get really lucky and hook up with a good promoter or venue or local bands that are willing to jump on the show. So you got to understand like that expectation is, are you touring for you or are you touring to build the band? Now, if you look and you say like, I live in Phoenix, but the majority of our listeners are in San Diego, or a lot of our listeners are in Austin, and then you decide to play there because of that, then you're worth a little bit more to that promoter. More like larger local bands may want to play with you. And at that point, you are like doing it for the people that want to come see you because they already know about you, and you're hopefully building a little bit of a crowd too. But just that idea of, and once again, this is not a punk rock thing to say, but that idea of like, you've got to grind on tour to build a crowd. I just don't think bands get big from doing that anymore unless they
Right.
really luck out and they get on a tour with a band that's like starting to, blow up or something.
Right.
Because it is so much easier, as you know, and I think we even talked about this last time. It's like you and I could probably remember a time where you had to wait till like 10 or midnight to get a new album and spend $20 on it. And then you held it in your hand and you would like force yourself to think that album was good, even if there's only one or two songs on it, because you invested your time into it, you spent your money on it. And you would go see a band live and you'd come early, you stay late, you'd find 3 or 4 bands on the bill that you like that stuff just doesn't seem like it happens as often now, because anybody that wants to hear a new song, they just got to pull up Spotify and it's free. They pull up YouTube and it's free.
Right.
And that, like, to me, that sucks. That hurts my heart, but it's also like, it's obviously not, it's working. It's working for bands. You know, there are bands that haven't played one show and then they go out there and play their first show and it's jam packed, which
Wow.
would never be a thing 20 years ago, because 20 years ago you did have to tour nonstop to build that crowd, you know? Now
Yeah,
it's like
that's
at
so
people's
true.
fingertips.
Right. So that kind of segues perfectly into my next question is how do you have X amount of views or streams in a certain city? How do you translate that into getting those streams and the digital fans to the actual show if it's your first time in a
Yeah.
city?
Man, dude, it's harder than ever because every platform knows that any audience that you build or that you're trying to build, how valuable that is to you, and they want to charge you for it. I can't remember if we talked about this at all, but like a good example is a few years ago, Facebook changed like likes to follows, and with
Right.
that, like a lot of pages lost tons of their people that were following them. So like American Standards originally had 70 or 80,000 people following us, and we dropped down to like 50 or 60.
Oh
And
wow.
then just a few days ago, we jumped on, and that 60 went down to like 40. They just purged another
Yeah, I
20,000
saw your
people.
post about that.
Yeah, and then I posted about it, and then the ironic thing about on that post, it said for an extra $20 you could promote this to reach another 10 or another 1,000 people or something like that. It's like, wait, so you took 20,000 off, and you want me to pay $20 to reach 1,000 people?
Right.
So that's a long short to say that like it feels like it's becoming the pay to play scene of 20 years ago, where you had to pay to get on a big show or you had to pre-sell tickets to get on a big show. They've made that model for any business and any band on social media, where if you want to promote to people that actually listen to you in a certain city, you almost have to pay to target posts, and that sucks, dude. Because like, where does that end? Especially for bands like us, that you're not making money off streams, you're not making money off like album sales. Like, you're lucky to sell some T-shirts. So
Yes.
um, it gets hard, and it gets harder as you tour more and you build like crowds in different cities, and as you've been a band for longer, because someone that listened to us, let's say they found out about us 9 years ago because we played a show in Kentucky, like every time we post, chances are they're not seeing our post unless we're sponsoring it to people in that area, you know? So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's really difficult, man. Like I do use stuff like Facebook groups that you can find groups specific to that city. Even those don't get a good reach like they used to.
No.
So it almost becomes like you've got to build strong connections with people in those cities, and you've got to build strong connections with the local bands, and make sure that when you're coming through, that they're like hyping you up.
Right.
I,
Right.
I, I can't think of another way to do it. Obviously, I don't know the answer because we're not blowing up, you know. but
Yeah. No,
but
that's a
that's the only
really
thing I can see that works is like, I don't know if you ever watch professional wrestling at all,
yeah, a
but this
little
is like
bit.
my
I've heard.
analogy here is like there are professional wrestlers that have made it, and they'll fight with a wrestler that's lesser known, and they'll take the loss just to put them over. So you need local bands in each city that are willing to push you over and co-sign, basically say like, you've got to see American Standards. They come through, they put on the craziest show. That way, those people will come early to see us or stay late to see us whenever we're playing. And then you also, as a band, need to do that for bands that you're playing with. So like when we play a show, since we've been around for so long, we always get put on as headliners. And
Hmm.
like, I never feel like we should be a headliner at any show ever. Like, we just headline a festival at this venue that holds, I don't know, 800, 1,200 people or something, like a huge venue, you know? And I'm like, why are we headlining this? Like, it makes no sense to me, because like I don't feel like, although we've been around for a long time, I still feel like we're that band that's just a DIY band that's grinding, you know?
Right.
But when we are the headliner on a show, I'm gonna make a playlist with all the bands on there that I like and their songs that I like. I'm gonna talk about on social media. Like, you got to check out. Like, we played with Murder Me a while back. Like, they've got this song that's just the coolest fucking song. But I put over all the bands and the stuff that they're doing that I actually genuinely enjoy. That way, people come to see them, and then you just got to hope that other local bands are doing that for you when you're playing too.
Right, right. Dude, that's so rad that you do that. You do the playlist and you do that promotion for the other bands. But that's what I've noticed is what is just so important is community, building
Yeah.
community.
Oh yeah. That's the
Whether
only
it's
thing I think people
online.
connect to now, is that like that feeling of like feeling like they're a part of something, you know? And
Yes.
it
Yeah.
becomes very hard to build in like a world that feels even more and more disconnected than ever, you know? Because
Oh
like
yeah.
everybody is just on behind their screens all the time. So it's really hard to build like that connection. Like it felt like before, like you would go to a punk rock show with 20 or 30 people, and then you instantly felt like you were part of that community. But
Yes.
like now it's like you go to that show and like no one's even talking to each other between bands. They're just looking down at their phones, you know?
Right, dude. No, that's so when I was a kid, every Friday night they would do a local show at this one venue out here in San Diego, and it was $5, and it always be one of the big top local bands. They'd always
Yeah.
get, or like Rufio would always do that from Rancho Cucamonga.
Hell yeah.
And then they would always throw on a bunch of smaller acts. But I mean, I didn't even know who's playing
Yeah.
90% of the time. I was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go. $5, we're gonna just go. And that's how I saw some of the best bands ever, met
Same.
a lot
Yeah.
of good friends. Yeah. You
It's
just
and that's like it's hard for me to understand. Like either that doesn't happen as much because people can just stay home and watch any movie ever on Netflix or listen to any song ever on Spotify. So like
right.
either it's old man me saying like it doesn't happen anymore, or it's happening, but like people half my age are still doing that, you know? So maybe I'm just disconnected because of that. You know, I'm on the other side of 30.
Yeah.
So I'm not the crowd that's going to like that same type of show. So maybe it is happening, but I don't see it, and I feel like I stay as connected as anybody to what's happening. You know, like as far as the local scene goes, and I just don't see it happening as often as it used to. Like
Yeah.
there's so many bands that play that I'm like, this band is so good. Why isn't there anybody here? You know?
Right, right. So, and then that also could kind of be a cycle, and like that discourages the bands from actually playing,
Yeah,
you know, and that. But yeah, yeah, dude. It's so important about building communities, and then I think it's a balance. You got to do the online, like you're saying, and I think that's so fascinating what you said about the gatekeepers now. And I've never really thought of it like that, but like Facebook, Instagram, like TikTok, whoever, if you're trying to promote a show, mainly with Facebook and Instagram are the main ones. If you're playing somewhere and you want to promote a show, you have to do a paid
yeah,
advertising to reach the people there,
yeah. I
which
mean, put it into perspective. Like I like once again, I think I forget what our page has now, like 40 or 50 after they cut people. But say we've got 40,000 people, and we're gonna. So our first show is in Las Vegas. So say of that 40,000 people, 500 people live in Las Vegas, right?
right.
We post, and our organic reach reaches maybe 100 people without paying anything. The chances of that 100 people being of that 500 out of our 50,000 or 40,000 in total is so small that maybe one person in Vegas even sees that post, if that.
Right.
So the only way to get to the rest of those people is to pay, and if you're not making money as a band, that like you can't just keep doing bumping money into it, you know? Like
No.
it's got a breaking point, you know?
Yeah. So, and that's why probably a lot of bands are just discouraged from touring, and they're just focusing mainly on social media, which you guys are hilarious on social media. And I do want to, we're kind of going to wrap it up here a little
Yeah,
bit. And I want to give you major props because on your Facebook page, when you're talking about your purging of fans, and you kind of said, we want to keep our page like respectable. I don't remember what you said. You're like, we could turn it into a meme page and probably get more followers or whatever, but that's not like who we are. Like it works for other people like me. Like, I'll do memes all day long.
yeah.
But with
And
you
don't get me wrong,
guys,
we have a group chat where it's nonstop memes all day. But yeah,
right, right. But you keep your band page like organic and authentic, and you're not selling out like to try to I really respect that about your band and your how you guys present yourself. And you guys are still funny for being a more hardcore band, which isn't totally normal, but you guys
yeah.
don't take yourself super serious. You are funny, which in your scene isn't totally the norm. And that's really,
No, I
really
agree.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
So
think for me, like social media is like on our band pages. I'm not going to like post anything just because I know it's going to get a reaction. You know, if
yeah,
it's not authentically something that I feel like occasionally, if I see something that's just becoming a trend, like I'll like satirically like poke fun at it. So we'll post a variation of it just to kind of acknowledge the fact that this is happening. But yeah, for the most part, like I'm not gonna be a meme page or a poll page, not because like it's not like I look down upon that, but it's just not us, you know. It's
yeah, yeah,
like it's just not us. And so when I post, like like the ideal post for me is like something that gets a point across that we want to. It has a little bit of humor in there, like you said, because that's just who we are as people. But it also has like some meaning to it as well, you know. So and
yeah.
that's hard. I don't have that every day, so I'm not going to post every day. And social media wants you to post every day. So
Yes, yes, that's it. Yeah, man. It's so hard for me to get onto the trending sounds and a lot of that. And I mean,
Yeah.
I could post every day, all day long, but that's the one that I'm like, ugh, the trending sounds like
Yeah.
it's hard for me to go down that road. So
There's a couple in here real quick if you want me to catch these here.
yeah, yeah,
One asked about the lyrics. So
yes.
honestly, lyrically, I've got a notepad on my phone, and I used to just have actual physical notepad, but now the phone is just much easier. Where anytime like I hear like a phrase or something that catches my attention, like you and I might be in this conversation, and something you say is like just
Mm.
interesting combination of words, and I just throw it on the notepad. And or I'm watching a movie, I'm reading a book, whatever it is. Listen to podcasts all the time when I'm driving. Just throw it on the notepad, not because like I know I'm going to use it, but because I want to come back to that notepad when it's time to write and see what inspires me to write based off the music that I'm now listening to.
Mm-hmm.
So I've probably got like easily thousands of lines of word combinations that are just never ending scrolling. I listen to the the music, and then I start thinking like what vibe does this give me? And then I typically take a line or two from that notepad, and I just build everything off of that.
Okay.
Something like I try to avoid is like making word soup, which I think a lot of bands in our genre do, which is like to me is like a line sounds really cool, and then the next line sounds really cool, and then the next line sounds really cool. But when you listen to it in the context, it's like, what does this even mean?
Yeah.
Like none of this, all these lines are cool. You get any one of these lines tattooed, but none of them actually like feel like they're cohesive, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of my favorite bands do that. But I try to, like when I write, I try to write something that's not so like it can be interpreted in many ways. Um, so, but it's also like it means something very deep to me, you know?
Dude, I so much respect to you. As someone pointed out that Fallout Boy does that, and I was like, really? Went back and listened. I was like, oh my, they do.
Yeah,
Every line, like, there's no one song that's like
yeah,
an actual story or anything. And I was like,
yeah. And
whoa.
I mean, it works because the
No,
thing is, like,
it works, but
people want to
I
wait for that part to
respect.
yell this clever line, you know? And don't get
Yes.
me wrong, like, I want to have those clever lines too, but I want them to, like, just like when you're writing a song, like, a lot of people, like, I call it like chasing oblivion. Like, a lot of people, depending on whatever their style is, chase the most of that. Like, if it's like a technical style, is like, how many notes can I play and how clean can I play them? If it's a heavy band, like, how heavy can I be? If it's a poppy band, how much, like, production can I have on this chorus and so forth? And for me, like, if you're always chasing like having the most of something, you're missing all the dynamics that actually make those most of something matter, you know? So
Yeah.
I look at lyrics the same way as like you've got to have some lines that are those cool, clever lines, but you've got to have stuff that leads up to them because if every line is cool and clever, then like none of them mean anything. Like they
Yeah.
all get lost in the fact that they're all cool and clever, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's no story, man. Like
Yeah.
the story is so important. So,
Yeah.
all
And then
right,
there's a
cool.
community one here too. You want me to catch this real quick?
Yeah, yeah, let's wrap it up on community and then I'll get you do all your plugs and stuff.
Cool. So this one is small community social media is the only way to hear new music. So maybe not a question, but I agree. It's like the funny thing is like I feel like our best shows are always in very small cities, and they're like the small cities just a skew of the bigger cities. So if it's like an hour or 2 hours out of the main city, like here for example, Prescott is a great example of that.
Oh, dude, Prescott is one of the anyone touring through Arizona,
Yeah,
hit up Prescott. It's the best
dude.
city to play I've ever played, ever.
And now they've got the Den, which is their only all ages venue that they've ever had that I know of. That's been actually solely a music venue. And Steven from Norwal runs it. It's great. But yeah, no, my point here is like when you play in a small community, they probably have maybe one, two, three bands tops, and those bands play as much as they can, but people just don't want to see the same band, the same set over and over again.
Yes.
So as a touring band, when you play those cities, you're going to be playing with those two or three local bands, and everybody's going to be stoked about it. You get that same vibe that I was saying earlier, where you can have a death metal band with a pop punk band and a hip hop person, and
Yeah.
everybody's going to go nuts because they just don't have a lot of options, you know? And so I do agree, like small communities are so cool because of that. And I think there are some venues that are trying to build that vibe. Like, I mean, the Trunk Space in Phoenix has always been a great example of that.
Oh,
Like, it's the idea of like it doesn't matter what the show is, let's get people just want to come here to see familiar faces, and if we're not having a show that night, let's do a board game night, or let's just do like some kind of like something to get people involved. And that brings back that vibe that you were mentioning, which is like you don't even know what bands they're playing sometimes, but you can go there meet new people and also see some familiar faces.
Yeah.
So there are
I'm
venues
glad.
that are
I'm
trying
glad
to do
Trunk
that, but
Space. I'm glad Trunk Space is still up and going.
still around, man. They've
Good.
been around for at least 20 years now. I played like
Yeah.
a show way back before they even had their brick and mortar location. They're inside the Paper Heart, and now they moved up to a place that actually has AC, which is nice.
You know, in
Much bigger,
Arizona,
super
that's
nice.
needed.
Yeah, but they're just like they're so cool, man. This like I said, they're an example of a venue that's found out like even in a big city like Phoenix, you can still feel like a small community
Yes. Yeah, but yeah, I'm
and be
so
inclusive.
happy.
Like
I'm so happy you dropped Prescott because that place is amazing. And the coolest thing about they pay
yeah,
touring artists. Like
oh
I
yeah,
mean, a lot of places won't, but they pay. They'll feed you. Like Prescott, yeah, that city, man. Anyone who sees this who wants to tour through Arizona,
Hit
definitely.
up Steven from Norwal. He's got the Den. There's honestly very few venues that are as nice as the Den, and it happens to be in Prescott, which is a place that has like a downtown that's literally one square.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's tiny. It's the
Yeah,
tiniest little city, but they are obsessed with music, and people show up, and it's the coolest vibe ever. So,
yeah.
yes, right on. So, I mean, like I'm gonna go throw these for a little while. I was just doing these as like a one-time event, but people in this new streaming world, they need it when they want to watch. So, someone might see this in the future when your tour's over,
Cool.
when your new EP's already out. So you guys have been going strong for like 10 years now. I'm sure you
Yeah.
keep going. Whenever you see this video, year, 2 years, 3 years from now, you guys are still going to be going strong and sleeping in your hotels and
With our
yeah,
2,000 thread count, I don't even know what a good thread count is. Maybe that's highballing it or lowballing it. I have no clue.
yeah. I think 3,000 is really high end. I don't know. I think so.
I've
But
slept in many a bathtubs, and those are just fine for me, you know.
dude, yeah, like compared to the van, anything is better than that. So yeah, check out, I mean, obviously you guys are on all the streaming stuff. You guys have all your Facebook accounts and
Yeah,
Instagram.
dude.
And I
Honestly,
actually just found
anything
you guys on
slash American
TikTok.
standards with an S at the end, you're probably gonna find us. Hell, we even started like a TikTok
Yeah,
recently too. So
I saw you guys on there. I was like, what
we
the
don't know what the
hell?
hell to do with it, but we're on there.
It's
So yeah, no,
wild, dude. Yeah.
we're on everything slash American standards. And yeah, we've got the tour coming up in August, 2022. So if you're in any of the cities that I mentioned, definitely come out and see us. We've got some new music. Hopefully, we'll have the first single out, if not by the end of August, shortly after that in September, followed by the EP. And yeah, I mean, this is like you said, 10 years. Like literally, we released our first album still like 10 years ago.
Wow.
So I had no clue that this would be around that long, nor did I think the joke of let's, other bands adding an S at the end of their name, so let's just add an S at the end of American Standards and become a toilet brand.
Right.
I didn't think that
I,
would stick 10 years, and here we are.
that's one of my favorite jokes, man. I love it. The
So,
standard toilet.
it's toilet humor.
It'll never toilet humor. That will never get old to me. So yeah, man. Like I can't wait. Let's do this again, or maybe one day come out to San Diego, or maybe I'll be out
We
in
need to come back,
Arizona.
man. It's been a long time, dude. Yeah,
Dude,
I
I
would
would
love
love
to
to see
come
you
to
guys
San
out here.
Diego and like us do a show together because the last thing I'll leave you with is on this tour and on this album, and maybe just in general, like a theme that we've been trying to do is if we think the band artist is solid, like they've got a solid message, they put on a high energy show, it doesn't matter what style of music they play. And
Yes.
that's what we want to showcase. So on this tour, almost every lineup has been a lineup that I've been able to like help select some of the bands, with the exception of the festival, obviously. And they're all mixed genre shows. They're all bands that are very high energy. When you listen to our new EP that's coming up, which I'll send you a link to what we're working on here, we got some features on there from people you would absolutely never expect. We've got some parts on there that like no band I feel like of our style are doing this. Like, has it been done before in other styles? Absolutely. But in our style, I don't think any bands are doing some of the stuff that we're doing, and we're doing it with the intention of like, let's bridge audiences and make people realize like it doesn't matter what you listen to, like it can still be cool and it can still hit hard, as long as it comes with that same energy and that same message.
Yes. That dude, you're giving me Warp Tour vibes.
Uh-oh. There's bad Warped Tour vibes we don't want to give you.
Oh, is there a band called War? Oh my God. See, I'm that old. I'm like
No,
that.
no,
I
no.
didn't
I'm
even
just
know there
saying.
was a.
I'm saying there's some people that might have a negative connotation to Warped Tour
Oh, okay. But
vibes.
I remember going to Warped Tour and seeing, getting exposed to different kinds of music,
As
and
long as those
that's,
bands didn't expose themselves to you, I think you're fine.
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Well, well, yeah.
But yeah, no, I would love to come to San Diego and like do a show with you. That'd be awesome. And if you come down here again, hell, let's play press get together, man.
Yes, dude. Oh, and on that note,
Yeah,
yes, dude. Yeah, American Standards, Brandon, you're amazing, and I can't wait to hear the new EP. And thanks for doing this, dude. It was
yeah.
like
I
the time
appreciate you,
always
man.
freaking flies whenever I do these. So
Every time that anybody reaches out to us and wants to spend any time with us, I'm just like so grateful. And like you said, we've talked twice before, and one first time was like 6 years ago. So like it's cool that we get to connect this far along, and we're still doing it, and you're out there doing it. It's just really cool thing. I appreciate you, man.
dude, so much respect, man. I took a long break off music and like back at it. It's like reconnected with my soul. So I give you guys so much props for doing it and just going and like, because you love it, man.
Yeah,
You enjoy
that's
it, obviously, or you wouldn't be still doing this. And
I
that's
owe
so
all my
respectable.
experiences to the band, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So like when I joke to you about saying that, like I want to talk about like the mistakes and like how we suck as a band because we haven't been as consistent as we could have been over the year. Like the truth of it is, I wouldn't change any of it because although we could have made choices that would have meant we were playing to bigger crowds or more people are listening to us, like the people that have listened to us, the people that we have connected with, like you and other people that come to our shows, it's just like I wouldn't trade that for anything, man.
Yes, dude. It's all about the connections and the networks and stuff. So, so important. And what you said about the perspective and just having it in your perspective, and that's
Yeah, yeah,
that's that's everything, man. That's everything. And
yep.
I could tell you guys got it. So yeah, dude,
Appreciate it.
until next time, man. I can't wait till you play out in San Diego or we connect. Like,
It's been at least, well, hell, if we did that podcast 6 years ago, it's been more than 6 years since we
yeah.
played San Diego, which is crazy because San Diego isn't far from us at all.
No, no, man. Well, maybe that's
We skip you for, I think we skip you from LA sometimes, and we played San Francisco a few times since. But
yeah. Well, maybe that's your next tour. After you guys do all this, you got to
yeah,
get fawning on
we'll
the.
link up after, and I'll figure out what the cool DIY venues are out there from you.
Yes, dude. Oh yeah, totally, man. Well, good talking to you, dude. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon, man. Take care. Thanks for
Yeah,
doing this.
take it easy.
Oh yeah, peace.